Good evening, folks. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna give it a few moments for folks to kind of keep joining and trickling in. Just one more minute. Okay, I think we should get going. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. There's a few NEXAMPers on the call, so I am going to let everyone introduce themselves. But my name is Emily Hart. I manage the inside sales team at NEXAMP, which is primarily dealing with residential customers.
And good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Hevenar, and I am the communication manager for NEXAMP. We've been really grateful to have the opportunity to work with your town administrator, Jamie Helen, on this project that we're doing in Franklin, and to make, to be able to reserve a portion of this farm specifically for Franklin residents. So we hope you've had an opportunity to kind of check us out a little bit, and hopefully the presentation tonight will help you understand a little more about how the community solar program works, what the opportunities and benefits are, and then we're happy to take your questions at the end of the presentation. I will turn it over to Jacob, and he'll introduce himself and take you through our PowerPoint tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Ammon. I am a senior community sales associate at NEXAMP. So I'll just kind of dive right into it and get right into the presentation. So what do we do at NEXAMP? This is our mission statement. We're building the future of energy so that it is clean, simple, and accessible. And that kind of speaks to some of the general ideas around community solar as a whole. Something like 50% of homes in the US are not suitable for solar installation for one reason or another. And so community solar is really a way to kind of make sure that as many people as possible are able to get some of those benefits of solar. And we'll get into more of the specifics around that shortly. So just a little bit of background on NEXAMP. We were founded in 2007, so just about 13 years ago, by 2 US Army veterans. When they returned from their deployment in Afghanistan, they were really looking to start a company that was focused on energy independence for the US. And so, within that time, we kind of started off doing things around energy efficiency, smaller residential installation, and like micro wind and geothermal and things like that. We've since, over those 13 years, really come to focus on community solar. That's really one of our main focuses now. And so we have over 200 locations, 200 different projects with 250 megawatts of capacity plus. We have nearly 50 community solar farms live in Massachusetts. We have several more in New York, Maryland, Illinois, and Maine on the way as well. So just a little bit of kind of some feedback and testimonial from some of our customers. So we do have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and then we do also work with we do have a lot of Google reviews as well. So you can certainly look up some of this information online. And so at NEXAMP, we're unique in the sense of we're fully vertically integrated. So we do everything from finding the sites for our solar projects to going through the permitting process, development, engineering, construction, and then eventually kind of the sale and administration of those projects. So we own and operate the solar farms through their lifetime. And so we have a team here that does, they're called the NEXAMP Energy Center, or the NEC. and they monitor all of our projects 24/7 to ensure that they are outputting energy at an optimal level. So if there is any type of issue or anything that needs to be resolved, they'll be the first people to know, and they'll be mobilizing a team to go out and get that done or resolve the issue however is needed. We do also try to be, again, holistic in our sustainability approach. So we do use pollinator friendly vegetation at our solar farms. We also did recently launch a solar grazing program. So we have sheep kind of doing the grazing vegetation control at some of our projects. That launched, I think, about a year ago in Newfield, New York, and we've since kind of rolled that out to a few other projects in Massachusetts as well. I anticipate that over the next year or so, as we kind of just start to move forward with that that'll be a lot more prevalent on more of our projects. We're also kind of looking into things around agrivoltaics as well. So that's just really trying to plant crops along with alongside our panels. So why are we all kind of here? Why are we giving this presentation? So we are developing a project in the town of Franklin. So that's on Spring Street. And so we do try to really give back and connect with the town that we're developing projects in. We want to form a lasting relationship, not just with the town administration, but also with the residents as well. And so we are offering exclusive access to this solar farm until October 15th. This project is still in development. We're expecting it to go online in about a year's time, October of next year. So signing up right now, you'll be securing your spot in that solar farm. Nothing's going to change for you until that project's actually up and running. And again, as kind of another way to give back to the community, apart from that kind of exclusive access, we are also offering a 15% discount on all of the solar credits that are applied to your bill, rather than the 12.5% discount that's standard for Massachusetts. So that is that 15% discount there. And we'll get into some more of those details around that in just a few minutes. So how does community solar actually work? As I mentioned, what we do is we build and develop these solar farms. The solar farm is feeding energy into National Grid's electric grid. And instead of them just paying us for that electricity directly, they're passing on the credit or the value of that electricity. They're passing that on to your customer bill, onto your National Grid bill. And so you're purchasing these credits from us at a 15% discount. So you can think of it as, normally if you have your own solar panels, those are going to produce energy that's going into the grid. And if you have them on your house, you may be utilizing some of that electricity. This is a way to kind of do all, a lot of these kind of similar things there, but to do that remotely. So there's no installation. And so some of the main features of the program. Again, so our goal is to make things as accessible as possible. And so part of that is making sure that we have the most flexible program terms. So there is no upfront cost. There's no cost to sign up or enroll. We're not doing a credit check or anything like that. Nothing's getting installed on your property. And again, there are no upfront costs, and we're not locking you into anything long-term. So National Grid will remain your utility. If you do have a third-party supplier, you can remain with that supplier. We are not a third-party supplier, so we are not taking their place. We are not changing your supply rate. Again, it's a way for you to kind of support clean solar energy and, of course, local energy as well. And that 15% discount is guaranteed on those credits that we apply to your bill, and we guarantee that for the lifetime of the solar farm. In your case, that's 20 years, but we're, again, not locking you into anything long-term. So if you do want to cancel for any reason, you can do so. We just ask for 6 months notice. And that's because in Massachusetts, the state policy says we can submit customer list changes to National Grid twice a year. So it's every 6 months. So if you let us know you'd like to cancel, we'll let National Grid know as soon as possible. But there may be a bit of a wait as that all gets processed. But again, we're never going to charge you a cancellation fee or a penalty, and you don't need to find anyone to take your place in the project or anything like that. We handle all of it. So I know some folks here are at kind of various stages of the sign-up process. I think that some people here, we've heard from some people already that have contracts in their hand, or we've been talking to them, they want to tend to get more information. And some of you may be hearing about this for the first time. So really what we do for that sign-up process, we just need a copy of a recent National Grid bill from you. we're going to take a look at your energy usage and what you pay to them. And we're going to take a look at that on an annual basis because we know there's obviously some seasonal variability in terms of how you use energy month to month and season to season. And of course, how the solar farm outputs energy as well. So once you pass us that information, we'll complete our analysis and then send you a personalized agreement that you can review. And if everything looks okay, you can sign to secure your spot. And so again, what's really happening each month is your share of the solar farm is producing energy, and that energy is going to show up on your national grid bill. It's going to show up as a credited amount. So in this example, this is a national grid customer's bill. They received $200 from their share of the solar farm that month. So you'll see kind of to the bottom of this bill where there's that those two circles. It's just a negative dollar amount that got taken off of their bill. So at the top, you'll see all of the charges the national grid was going to charge them, that negative dollar amount. So in this case, we covered all of their charges, and they're not going to pay anything to national grid. In fact, they used about $180 of electricity with national grid, and we provided them with $200 from the solar farm. So they actually got a little bit more credit than they needed. So you'll see kind of at the amount due line, there's negative $22. And that's the kind of balance forward. So those extra $22 were not used. They're going to roll forward to the following month. Those credits stay on your bill. They never expire. And so typically speaking, customers will build up a little bit of credit in the summer months and then use that in the winter when there's less solar production. That of course is going to vary a little bit depending on how you use energy. But again, when we're doing our analysis, we're looking at things on an annual basis to account for all of that variability. So over the year, it should all even out. And so then this is what a bill from NEXAMP would look like. You'd see, okay, we produced around $203 of electricity for you. You're going to pay us for those at a 15% discount. So you're only going to pay us $172. And so you're saving that $30 on those credits that we applied to your bill. And the extra credits are simply rolling over. So what you'll see is in the summer, again, typically you're going to get a little bit extra credit. And then as the solar production goes down, those extra credits are going to be applied to your bill. So that's generally, how the program works is each month we're paying part or all of your national grid bill. You're paying us back minus 15%. So I know that's a lot of information. It's a lot of things to kind of digest. So we can open it up to questions right now. I think you could just raise your hand through Zoom, and Emily should be able to unmute you and we can hear your question.
Matt, you should be unmuted. Matt G.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Does this affect any flat rate billing agreement that we've made with National Grid?
Do you mean like if you're on a budget plan with National Grid, so you pay them the same amount each month?
Exactly.
Yeah, so those credits will be applied to your budget amount. The only thing I would say to be aware of is, again, you're going to pay us for the credits we apply to your bill. So your cost with NEXAMP will vary a little bit over the year. So you can be on the budget plan and be enrolled in the program. But if paying the same amount each month is important to you, you should just be aware your cost with NEXAMP, again, will vary a little bit month to month.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Ashish, you should be unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so a question I have is, so does it mean that every month we'll be getting like two bills, one from National Grid and one from NEXAMP, depending on, and that's the first question. So.
Yeah, that's correct. So each month, once everything is up and running, you're going to receive your National Grid bill. Again, most months it should be we should cover the entire bill. It should be reduced down to zero. If there is any excess that we don't cover, you'll pay that to National Grid. But you're going to get that National Grid bill. It's going to be reduced with the energy from the solar farm. And then you're going to get a second bill from NEXAMP for whatever we credited you at that 15% discount. So it is a separate bill. Our bill typically comes within 30 days of your National Grid bill. The exact timing will vary kind of based on what your billing cycle with National Grid looks like. So they don't do like a standard, everyone gets their bill on the 15th or anything like that. So yeah, it can vary a little bit, but it should lag behind your bill by by a couple of weeks.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. And a follow-up question I have is, and hypothetically speaking, let's say I have a $100 bill a month and NEXAMP credit was $150 because of its summer month, right?
Yep.
So obviously I will pay $0 to National Grid, but I'll be paying 150 less 15% to NEXAMP in that month?
Correct. So in that example, you'll be paying a little bit more than you would have paid. But that extra $50 is going to roll forward. So next month, your starting balance with National Grid is going to be negative $50. And so that will just carry over. It doesn't expire. It's like unused minutes on a phone plan. It's just going to roll forward until it's utilized. So like in that example, you'd probably start to see those credits used in the winter when the solar farm is producing less energy.
Okay, so same example in winter, I'll keep things equal. I have $100 bill in December again, and NEXAMP is only producing $50 worth of credit. So so National Grid will first use the credit that I've built in the summer months, and obviously I will pay NEXAMP $50 less 15% in that hypothetical example.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, thank you.
Anne, you're unmuted.
I just unmuted myself. Is this only on a generation portion of the bill? How does it apply to the distribution? I guess I'm not understanding that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what's happening is those credits are being applied to the entirety of the bill. So back to this example here, you'll see National Grid Services. So that's the delivery portion of the bill or distribution. And then other supplier service. So that's the kind of generation or supply side of the bill. Those credits can be applied to the entirety of the bill. So we can cover all of those charges on your National Grid bill.
Okay.
Okay, we have another question from Jill. Jill, I'm going to unmute you. Okay,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, how many square acres is this solar farm going to be?
That's a good question. I don't have that off the top of my head. I know it's a 6 megawatt DC project or a 6.6 megawatt DC project.
It's
Emily, do you mind checking? 6.2,
6.2, I think. Yeah. Yep. Almost 6.3.
Okay, so I guess just out of curiosity, I know that to create this solar farm, you've got to cut down some woods, which is adjacent to the state forest. Has there ever been any thought about partnering with municipalities and using government or town-owned parking lots to put up a solar farm? Because I have seen parking lots where they do create solar farms, and it's like, why are we cutting down trees at this point?
Right.
When there's so much pavement that's available.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm not on our business development team, so I can't speak to that, completely. But from my knowledge of it, so we typically do look for as many different eligible pieces of land as possible. So a lot of it is kind of dependent on what the infrastructure setup is like, where there are substations and so on. I know that we do build projects on landfills and kind of, brown land as well. So we do try to, diversify that as much as possible. Obviously, we don't want to kind of just be bulldozing down trees, but sometimes, we do that. We do clear cut trees. I did look into this recently as well. I know that there was kind of a study done at MIT, something out of their policy center. Forgive me, I don't remember the specifics around exactly which group it was out of MIT that did that. But once a solar farm is running on 1 hectare for 46 days, it should offset the kind of carbon stored there if you're comparing it to coal generation, and then it's half that time, so it's 23 days if you're comparing it to natural gas electric generation. Completely understand that, and it is, a fair concern. So it is something that our business development team is aware of, and we do look into that, trying to make sure that our projects are again, as sustainable as possible in as many ways as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Okay, I'm going to be unmuting Peter.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So just confirming, it's irrelevant who the supplier is. It doesn't have to be National Grid. Even if you happen to have like a 1 or 2 or a 3-year contract with a different supplier at a fixed rate, that discount would still apply.
Correct. You can have whichever supplier you would like. The only thing that we would want to know is, what your supply rate is. And that's just because when we're doing our analysis, again, we're looking at how much energy you use and what you pay for that energy. So we want to cover your annual costs. So if you're paying a very low rate, we're going to give you a smaller share of our solar farm. If you're paying a higher rate, we want to give you a larger share of our solar farm to make sure that we're kind of accurately covering those costs. But you're correct. You can stay with your supplier. We're not affecting anything with your relationship with them.
So the rate, the share that I would get depends on my cost of what I'm paying right now, not the usage.
So it depends on your cost, which is, kind of dependent on your usage. So we're going to say, it looks like you spent $900 to $1,000 a year with utility. That's what it looks like your annual cost is like. We're going to give you a share of our solar farm that we expect to produce, $900 to $1,000 of credits over that year. Just about 900. So we go a little bit conservatively because, again, we don't want you to have more credits on your bill than you actually need. So yes, the big number at the end of the day that we're trying to cover is how much do you pay over a year for your electricity.
Okay, and if I happen to switch to another supplier, would I have to notify you guys, or would that be done automatically somehow?
Yep, so you can notify us, and so that's a good question. So that would be the same if, your usage went up or down. So if maybe you bought an electric car, or sold an electric car, or switched to electric heat, so your usage, is going to vary from what it previously was. You can just let us know, and we can change that allocation to be higher or lower, obviously dependent on your needs. And there's never any type of charge to do that. Again, so we're submitting a customer list every 6 months, and so we can make that change every 6 months. But that's not something that we're always doing. We're not reallocating you each month. So you would just need to reach out to us and let us know. We do try to send a reminder email as well saying, hey, there are upcoming changes to the customer list. Has anything changed about your usage? Would you like a reanalysis? And then we can, reach out and get that done.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, Doug, I'm going to be unmuting you.
Thank you. So I've got 2 questions, I guess, one of which follows along with Peter. So I guess help me understand a little bit better, if you would. I think in his question, no one was looking to get on the list or off the list, right? And if all you're doing is applying credits on my behalf, I'm not sure I necessarily follow how that involves National Grid. if I need to increase or decrease usage. So you can help me with a little bit, and then I'll get to my second
Sure.
question.
Yeah, so when we're doing our analysis, so we're looking at how much you use, what share of the solar farm we're allocating to you. And we're going to let National Grid know, okay, Doug's account is enrolled. He's getting this share of the solar farm. So we can just use it as a percentage. We might say, okay, you're getting 1% of the solar farm. Whatever energy it produces, whatever that's worth that month, they're going to apply that to your bill. And they're going to do that until we tell them that's not the case anymore. So then maybe you reach out and say, hey, my usage has actually doubled over the year. So we'll say, all right, there's some space available. When we let National Grid know, these are our customer updates, your usage, we may not update anything, but if you let us know your usage doubled, we'll tell them, okay, Doug's account is now enrolled for 2% of the output of the solar farm. So that just means they're the ones that are actually applying those credits to your bill each month. And so they will apply, double the amount, or 2% in this example.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. The accounting makes more sense to me now. I appreciate the explanation.
Sure.
My second question, which is related then, is over the course of time, we all know solar panels decay. They don't continue to produce the same amount. How does that get factored in? You've talked about 20 years. How does that factor into a rate per kilowatt hour, so on and so forth? Talk a little bit what happens over the course of 20 years, if you would.
Sure. So two kind of things there. One, the output of the solar farm. From my understanding, we're expecting these panels, we've kind of projected out for the production of these panels for that 20 years. So if there are adjustments that need to be made, during that time, again, our team is monitoring that 24/7. And so, if there's some type of something that needs to be replaced, or there's, a bad string of modules, they'll be the ones that can identify that and make necessary changes or upgrades. Just another kind of part of your question as well that you didn't really hit on, but I think might be good to mention as well, is that, yes, things are going to change over the next 20 years. And so even as utility costs change, so let's say the price of electricity increases over the next 20 years, your share of the solar farm, the value of the electricity produced is kind of tied into that value of electricity. So as electricity rates likely increase, the value of your share of the solar farm, once you're using the same amount of energy, so the same amount of kilowatt hours, that should scale in a similar way. If the cost of electricity went down, your share of the solar farm would be producing less credits for you. Same amount of energy, but it's going to be valued at a lower rate. So we are kind of planning out for that, and we're making sure that we're going to continue to provide you with that coverage over that 20-year lifespan, should you want to be a customer for 20 years.
Okay, let's see. Carl, you're going to be unmuted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yep, sorry. We're having a little bit of delays on some of the unmuting, but we can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear the original question?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. So if I were to think about selling my house down the road somewhere, does the relationship with NEXAMP automatically terminate, or does that somehow tie into the 6-month notification that's required?
Great question. So we do, we would ask for that 6 months notice if possible, just because we would want to make sure that we can cancel you as soon as possible. But if, you weren't able to provide that, maybe you were moving a little bit more quickly, or the house sold more quickly than expected, your subscription with NEXAMP is tied to your National Grid account. So basically, once you close that National Grid account, that's effectively going to cease service with NEXAMP as well. So, we're only ever charging you for the credits that we apply to your bill. And so if there's no National Grid bill for us to apply credits to, we're not going to charge you for them. And that's, so I think that should answer your question.
Okay,
but if
great.
there are any, other things there you'd like me to clarify, I'm happy to.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob, I do want to be just cognizant of time. We're about 7:30 and we still have a few outstanding questions, so we're happy to kind of stay on and keep going through them. But do you want to just maybe click through a couple of slides for folks? Yeah, perfect. So for any folks out there that have questions or have started their enrollments, want to start enrollment, this is kind of the contact information that you can kind of reach out to us.
And thank you for taking the time to attend as well.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time, and we know it's dinner time, but again, we'll stay on. There's still plenty of folks on and some outstanding questions as well, so we'll keep going. But if you have to jump, again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. So Lisa, I am going to unmute you.
Sure. Yeah, hi, this is Mike and Lisa. You probably covered this already, but you have some installations in other towns already operational?
Yeah, so we have over 50 community solar projects online in Massachusetts, and we have projects in New York, Maryland, projects in development in Illinois and Maine, and a few other states as well.
And are you at 100% subscription capacity on those farms?
So the ones that are online, I believe so, yes. You know, as folks kind of, you know, come and go, we typically might have a little bit of a wait list. So folks will get added to that, or, you know, if space kind of opens up. Again, if someone's usage increased, we might fill that up with space from someone else already on the project as well. But yeah, most of our projects, all in Massachusetts, are fully enrolled. And Massachusetts has been a very good market for solar. So these projects do tend to fill up very quickly. And so that's one of the reasons as well why, you know, we're signing folks up here a year in advance.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep.
And somebody asked the question, if you sell your house, you know, it'll terminate when you terminate with National Grid, but could this be passed on? Could the subscription be passed on to the new buyer in case it's
yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. There's never any obligation to do that. You know, so we're not locking you into anything there, but if you wanted to, and, you know, the people may be interested, you can certainly let them know, and they can kind of take your place in the project. There may be a gap again as we, you know, have to submit a new customer list. So there may be a few months where they're not enrolled as yet. But that's certainly something that we can do and certainly have done for some folks.
Okay. And then my last question is, you guys maintain this farm, like, what if there's a massive hailstorm and it takes out all these panels? How quickly can you rebuild?
So the specifics of that question, I'm not too sure. You know, I would say in terms of your customer experience from that, you know, if something were to happen to the solar farm and it goes offline, you're not being held liable, or you're not on the hook for anything. You're simply just going to get less credits or no credits to your bill. So you would effectively be just like a regular National Grid customer.
Yeah.
We do, you know, obviously, like anything, we do kind of experience some outages, and there's obviously, it's very dependent on the weather. So I know, you know, we would certainly try to, you know, get things up and running as soon as possible. The specifics of each scenario, I don't know, because I'm not, you know, I don't work heavily in that department. But, you know, if something catastrophic were to happen, I think most likely we would probably shift people to a project that's kind of in development, to, you know, get customers back up and running as soon as possible.
Okay, so you have maintenance crews in Massachusetts?
So yeah, we have a team that is monitoring all of the projects 24/7, and they're looking at what is the output of the projects. You know, is everything kind of modeling with what we would expect with the weather and so on? Is there anything that maybe might be faulty? And so we, you know, I think we usually kind of typically contract out, or we have groups that we work with to kind of go and you know, either repair whatever it needs to be repaired, or clear whatever needs to be cleared from whatever the situation is.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for your time.
Forgive me, I'm in our Boston office and they're vacuuming, so I have a little bit of background noise. Brian, I'm going to be unmuting you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. Based off of how you, it seems as though.
Sorry, Brian, you just cut out for a second. Do you mind repeating that?
the way this is being positioned, it appears as though it's a no-brainer in that I would receive an overarching 15% discount on my bill overall. And I'm a bit suspect of that. So help me understand if I'm able to use the same supplier, which I've negotiated or agreed to a particular supply rate.
Mm-hmm.
Are you suggesting that overall the other component of my bill being the delivery rate, that it's in essence, it's not only maximizing that, but also applying that 15% discount to my supplier. So my overall bill is down 15%. I'm trying to figure out why I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I feel
What's
as
the
though there's
catch?
details that you're not disclosing.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, that's a question that we kind of get a lot. You know, what's the catch? What's going on here? So you're correct that we are applying those credits to your bill that can cover all of your charges, and you're always paying us for those at the 15% discount. So why would someone not sign up for this? The typical things that we see are, it is a second separate bill. And so despite the fact that you're saving money, for some people, they don't want to deal with that extra kind of administrative burden. And so that's a reason for them not to sign up. Secondly, you are going to get extra credits, typically extra credits to your bill in the summer months. And so, like we mentioned earlier, you may pay a little bit more out of pocket during that time. You will see those savings in the winter. Those credits are not expiring. But if you know you're very conscious of paying the same amount each month, or maybe you're on like a fixed income, you know, for some people, it may not always be an ideal situation. So that's another reason that folks don't sign up. I think that one of the bigger ones that we see as well is that, you know, I think that, you know, we spend some time explaining the program, but for some people, it doesn't always click very quickly. And so, you know, sometimes people just don't really understand exactly what's going on, and just are unwilling to kind of engage in that. But, you know, I do think that you are, you know, it's a very low risk program. I think that the main things that I would say to be aware of that people are like, what's the downsides, is just you are getting a second separate bill and your costs with us are going to vary. I would say the only kind of other thing that might, you know, stop someone from signing up is if you're selling your house in a month or in a year and you're not sure what that situation is going to look like. Again, you know, there's no cost to cancel, but for some people, it's just an extra administrative burden that again, they may not want to deal with. But you're correct in everything else that it is that flat 15% discount on all of those credits that we apply, and you can kind of maximize your savings by having a lower supply rate, and also participating in the program as well.
So I'm going to just kind of try to regurgitate what you just said, but
sure.
Because I'm okay with variable monthly costs, because that's what I deal with today. But if my annual home electric bill is, you know, directionally $6,000 a year in the big picture, when I look at it every month, that I should anticipate over the course of that year that 15% or $900 less based off of these things, even though in 1 month, maybe I pay a little bit extra, but I'm going to see a larger credit. So overall, I should anticipate over a rolling 12-month period, the 12%, excuse me, a 15% discount. And in my example, approximately a $900 savings over my annual cost.
So yeah, so if your annual cost is $6,000, and we provide you with $6,000 of credits from the solar farm, yes, you would be saving $900. Again, we do go a little bit conservatively when we're doing your analysis, because we don't want you to end up with more credits on your bill than you need. So we might cover, let's say, $5,500 of that with the credits from the solar farm. And so you're always going to save the 15% on the credits we apply to your bill. It may not always match up each year that you used 6,000, we provided you with 6,000. It's more likely going to look like you used 6,000, we provided you with 5,500. Again, because we know that each year it's going to be roughly 6,000 for you, right? It's going to go up or down a little bit each month. You know, you may be gone for a month traveling or something like that. And so we know that there's that variation. So We do try to be a little bit conservative there, but we will let you know. So if you have, I'm not sure where you are in the process, if you've kind of gone through anything with us as yet, but when we do send you that agreement, it tells you on the first page, we're expecting to provide you with X amount of dollars over the year. Because you're paying for that at a 15% discount, why is your projected annual savings? So, we do provide you with that information. And yes, if we do cover all of your costs completely, that's correct, but there is that variation. Just want to, make sure that I'm clear about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Let's see. Carol, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? It's
Yep,
Michael.
we can hear you.
Michael and Carol.
Michael and Carol, hello.
He did steal my question, and that made it, I'm glad you simplified it. So then I'm going to ask the question, how does that compare to the roof solar panels?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't want on my house, by the way.
Yeah, so it really kind of depends on what your setup is like. What's going to be your capital cost to install those? Do you have to trim things? Do you need a new roof or anything like that? If that's something that someone wants to do, we'll tell you, by all means, we're here for solar. Please go ahead and do it. Over a longer period of time, you'll probably save more money having your own solar installed. That's the truth. However, again, like we said at the beginning, a lot of people can't or don't want to install their own solar. And so this is a kind of a good in-between for a lot of people to kind of get some of those benefits, get some of those savings without having to, go about taking on the liability of their own panels, depending on how they're installed or financed, and the maintenance and so on. And if you ever want to sell your house, that may be something that, might be a concern for you as well. So if it's an option for you, again, or for anyone, by all means, go ahead and do it. But this program is really because not everyone can or wants to.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly my feeling. So thank you for explaining that.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to be unmuting you.
Thank you. Couple of questions. I guess I missed the beginning in regards to when this program starts. I think he mentioned it's next year sometime, so just confirm that. The second question, as far as the unused credits, I think I heard him say they never expire. Is that go into perpetuity, or do they, is there a 24-month or a 12-month expiration of a credit? And then my last question, in regards to the credits, if you do move, sell your house, get out of the program, if you have any unused credits, is there any reconciliation of those credits, or right. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Sure. So first part of your question, so the solar farm in Franklin is scheduled to be going online next year, October. So October 2021, that's our projected start date. Signing up right now, nothing's going to change for you until that's actually online. The second part of your question, those credits, they do not expire. It's the same way as if you overpaid your National Grid bill by $100 this month. They're not taking that $100 away from you. It's just going to be used when it's needed. Again, so when we're doing the analysis, so we don't want you to end up in a situation where you build up credits in the summer and then you don't use them in the winter. So that's why we go a little bit conservatively on our analysis. And if you did notice that, so maybe your usage dropped over time, you can just let us know and we'll say, okay, maybe your allocation was too high. Maybe let's drop that down for the next 6 months so you can use through any of those extra credits you'd built up. And then we can increase that at a later date, at something that's more accurate for your actual costs. So that's for the second part of your question. And then the third part of your question, great question. If you have extra credits on your bill, what happens to them if you'd like to kind of cancel? So if you're canceling with us, those credits are going to remain on your National Grid account. You've already paid us for them. They stay there and they belong to you. You'll just, go through them as you need them. If you are moving and, you're canceling your account with National Grid, those credits live on your National Grid account. We don't have any kind of administration over those. So that's something that you would have to work out with National Grid. What we have seen is if you're moving somewhere else in National Grid, they can transfer those credits over there, or they may be able to reimburse you for those credits. It's really up to the utility, but that's what we do often see. And that's also why we ask for, so two things. That's one, why we're, again, a little bit conservative with our analysis. And then two, if you, do suspect that you might be moving or might be selling your house, you can always let us know, and we can, decrease that allocation or cancel you if needed. So we do try to, do the best that we can in order to do that, and make sure that you don't end up with too many extra credits. But if you do, National Grid can transfer those credits or reimburse you, but it is, between you and National Grid for that. We'll help how we can, but they will live on your National Grid account.
Okay, it looks like our last question, I think, and thank you, Matt G, for your patience. I'm going to be unmuting you.
Hey there, thank you. I was wondering if you could tell me about how many homes you plan on servicing with this farm.
Yeah, that's a good question. Emily, I'm not sure if you have kind of more of the specific numbers around that.
Yeah, so as we were speaking to earlier, the farm is around 6.2, 6.3 megawatts. Half of that, Jacob didn't get into this, but kind of in Massachusetts, the way that these programs are structured is usually half of a farm goes to kind of one single credit-worthy investment grade off-taker. Maybe it's a public entity or a large business or a college, a hospital, etc. So half of the farm will go to that off-taker, and then the rest is reserved for community solar customers, so residents, nonprofits, small businesses, etc. So around half of the farm, around 3-ish megawatts, and we usually say 100 to 150 homes per megawatt. So we're looking around kind of 300 ish homes for the community solar side of this farm. Okay. Well, I think that looks like it. There aren't any other questions, but again, these have been great questions. Thank you so much, everyone. And this is the first, we've been doing a number of these informational sessions on a different kind of platform, GoToWebinar. This is our first Zoom call, but it's been really lovely. So thank you, everyone. Jacob,
thank you again.
Any other? Yeah.
No, just want to say thanks, everyone, for taking the time out of your Tuesday evening. Yeah, and hope you guys enroll. And if there are any questions, you can reach out to us at the contact information on the screen, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.